Hey guys, welcome. In today's video, we are going to be talking all about how to use Pinterest as a beginner. Make sure to hit that like button so that more people can find this video, as well as subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And with that, let's dive in. Alright, so before we talk about exactly how Pinterest looks like and how you can use it as a technical tool, let's talk about what exactly Pinterest is first and how it's beneficial for you to have a strategy for Pinterest, irrespective of whether you're using it as an individual person, to build a personal brand, or for your business. So Wikipedia defines Pinterest as a social media, web, and mobile app designed to enable saving and discovery of information. Now the focus here is on saving and discovery of information on the World Wide Web. This means that Pinterest is not just a social media platform, but it is also a search engine because it enables people to discover information, which is the very essence of a search engine. Now, there are a couple of really interesting things that I want you to know about Pinterest before we move on. At the time of recording this, there are actually over 330 million monthly viewers on Pinterest, which means over 300 million people are active on Pinterest every single month. About 50% of the users are from outside of US, so the common misconception that people have in Pinterest about Pinterest is that it's only used by people in the US, and that is not true. Next up, millennials use Pinterest just as much as Instagram. So if you are a person who is, let's say, looking to target millennials, whether that is for your brand or your business, you would find it really, really interesting to actually leverage Pinterest because a lot of millennials actually are very active on Pinterest just as much as they are on Instagram. Another interesting statistic about Pinterest is that the user base of Pinterest it tends to a little bit more of mid to high income instead of other social media platforms, which are more widely or equally distributed. So about half of Pinterest users make $50,000 or more every year, which means they have a higher propensity to spend, which means they have a higher power to purchase when it comes to products, right? Which brings me to my next point about Pinterest, which is that 87% of Pinterest users have purchased a product because of Pinterest. 87%. Which means that most of the people who are actually on Pinterest are looking for ideas and actually shopping around for products which might be interesting to you, especially if you're someone who is either selling products currently or plans to sell them in the future. Now, there are a couple of terms that you should know before we dive into the technical bits. So the first term that you should know is what is a pin. So a pin is simply an image that you would see when you log into Pinterest, and that I will show you shortly. You can also say that if you are saving a pin, or you're pinning, that could also be used as a verb. So a pin is also a noun when you talk about an image, but it can also be used as a verb, that I was pinning on Pinterest. That would be then the verb context of it. A pinner is someone who is simply an active pin user. So this is a funny term, but it basically signifies someone who is active on Pinterest as a Pinterest user. A repin is when someone actually takes your pins and actually shares that or saves that in their particular boards. Now, one of the best ways that Pinterest is different, or one of the most unique ways in which it is different, is that it allows users to actually save and share your content to multiple other users for a long period of time versus, let's say, Twitter or Facebook. So every time someone repins your content, it simply means that someone took your original pin and saved it to one of their boards or shared it to one of their profiles, right? Which essentially gives you more exposure and gets more people back to your account and to your feed. Now, of course, Pinterest users are a little bit different demographic when it comes to social media users, let's say compared to Instagram or to Facebook. And that's what I want to clarify here. Why is it that you can actually use Pinterest as irrespective of whether you're using it as an individual or as a business? Now, Pinterest users, contrary to other social media users, are most likely to click through to share and consume your content. Now, this is again something which is very, very unique to Pinterest because Pinterest as a platform has been developed in a way that it allows people to click out of the platform and do other things. Whereas when you talk about Facebook or you talk about Instagram, those are platforms that really want you to stay within the algorithm and to stay within the platform. That's true for YouTube as well. They don't want you to be leaving the platform and going elsewhere. However, when it comes to Pinterest, because it's a sort of bookmarking social discovery site, it has been built in such a way that people are almost encouraged to click out and check out other things on other websites, right? So the first reason why Pinterest is very interesting and should be, a part of your marketing strategy is because Pinterest does not discriminate. This means whether you have 1 million followers in Pinterest or you have 10 followers in Pinterest, the chance of your content being shown and ranked in Pinterest search is just as high. So you don't need to have 10,000 followers to have a link that you can add on Pinterest. You don't need to have an established following to do anything on Pinterest, really. You can grow completely organically, even if you're just starting today. The second thing that makes Pinterest very interesting is that instead of just looking for, let's say, trending news, or instead of looking for travel stories, Pinterest users are actually looking for information. Now, of course, when you compare this to other social media platforms, it's very different. Nobody goes on Twitter to search for how they can pay off debt. Nobody goes on Facebook to look for how they can, do their home, redo their home. However, when it comes to Pinterest, people are actually looking for information. So how-to tutorials, hacks, how to do certain things. And in that sense, it is not just a search engine, but also a hotbed of potential buyers and potential customers for your business. And not only this, Pinterest users have been growing steadily worldwide. So even though Pinterest hasn't been around for a very long time, the growth that Pinterest is facing and has been going through for the last couple of years has been very, very quick and continues to grow beyond over 330 million users that it currently has, and is growing all across the world, not just in the US or North American market. And lastly, it's also really important to know that Pinterest users actually share the love, which means that they don't just save your pin and then forget about it. They actually share that with their friends. They actually go to your website, check you out, and they actually sign up for forums and buy your products, which means that Pinterest users are a great potential target audience, especially as a business owner or as a budding entrepreneur who's looking for new leads and just wants to reach a bigger audience completely organically. So with that said, let's talk about what Pinterest actually looks like when we talk about the technical aspects. So as you can see, we are now on the Pinterest home feed. Now, the home feed is essentially a stream of pins or images which have been curated by Pinterest based on what you have been searching and based on what they think you might like. Now, of course, if you're just starting out on Pinterest, your feed might not be as, developed, because the algorithm hasn't really had time to understand what you're interested in, what are the topics that you're following, and maybe you're not really following anyone, so you have a very minimal feed. Now, of course, this feed constantly changes. It gets constantly updated depending on the kind of content that I have been viewing, I have been sharing, as well as I have been interacting or engaging with. You essentially have this feed curated for you by Pinterest. Now, again, this is kind of similar to YouTube, where depending on what you have been viewing on the channel, you actually have access to recommended videos and content which has been specifically, curated for you based on what you might like. Now, as you can see, when you zoom in, or you just basically once click this image, it opens up and it shows you the more details about this pin. So it will show you what the title of this pin is, which is the Ultimate Germany Travel Guide. It's also going to show you what the description of this pin is. So the top places to go in Germany, typical budget for food, etc. It's going to show you the account that this pin has been saved by. So I'm the one who's actually uploaded this pin from one of my accounts. So you can see this is the account that the person has saved from. You can see if there are any comments on this particular pin. You can see if anybody has attached any photos, because, for example, sometimes people post recipes, etc., and people actually add photos showing how this recipe turned out, right? Now, the easiest way for people to actually engage with this pin is, one, they can just click on this pin and they will automatically be taken to a page which is basically the link that has been added to this pin, right? Now, later on, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this with Pinterest, but just to show you kind of briefly how Pinterest works is essentially you have pins, or basically an image with some kind of text that leads to a particular article, or let's say to a landing page, or maybe even to a product that you're selling, right? Essentially, it can be anything which has a URL or a link on the internet. So of course, you can also have just images, but those images are not really going to drive traffic or signups for you because they won't have a link, right? Okay, next thing you can do really quickly is, if you already have boards, you can actually go into one of your boards and save this pin over there, right? So you can go to one of your personal boards or to your group boards, which I'm going to explain to you as well, and you can save that pin, which essentially is called a repin, and that means that you've saved this for your own personal use, right? So that's how Pinterest essentially enables you to not only interact and find the pin outside of Pinterest. So I'm able to find this complete article about the Ultimate Germany guide, but I'm also able to save it to one of my personal boards so that in the future, when I actually plan to travel to Germany, I will be able to do so. Now on this tab, when you go, you're going to see all of the, recommended inspiration for you, as well as some of the trending aspects on Pinterest. So you can see what are just some of the things that are going around. Maybe it's something that is interesting for you. Maybe you actually just want to see, hey, what's going on? And maybe you don't want to miss out on a certain trend, right? So as you can see, day by day, you actually have certain trends. So there's dreamy yoga studios. There is trend alert, the nap dress, if you're into fashion, how to mentally prepare for the school year, for wellness. So they try to basically curate some of the things that are trending and that you might be interested in, so that you stay longer on the platform and you actually check out different things. So how to improve your gut health. So as you can see, these are different categories. Like there's food, there's wellness, there's home decor, there is parenting, there is birthdays, there's travel, so Monday escapism. It's a mix of images and also videos, which Pinterest has been favoring recently. So it's not just video, not just images or static images, but it's also dynamic videos, because a lot of people actually prefer video content. And let's say, for example, in this case, they want to see what the recipe looks like, how they can make it, and they just want to see how it is instead of reading it through, right? And then you can see specific content based on who you are following. So let's say I follow 100 people. So they're going to basically show me all of the latest content from people that I'm following. Now, again, this is quite similar to, for example, when you log in on Instagram and you're able to see everyone that you're following. If you are someone who's used Facebook or Instagram, you would know that this is kind of the same. So again, the first page that you land in, or which is also your home feed, is always a curated mix of all of these things. But you can specifically go on what's trending today, and you can also see what is the latest content from people that you follow. Maybe you want to give them some love back and you want to share some of their content. Either way, it's a great place to just get started on Pinterest. Now, the next thing that I want to take you through is your profile. Now, when you click here on this icon, which is basically my profile image. Now, again, as you can see, I have a pretty established profile. So I have over 1 million monthly viewers, and this tends to change between 1 to 2 million, depending on how much traffic and how much visibility my posts are getting or my pins are getting. So as you can see, the profile is very basic. I've added my email address, I've added my website, I have added my main website that this account represents. I've added the categories that this account represents. And then you can see a quick description of what this account is all about. If someone is just landing on this, so if you are a user who is just using Pinterest, you will have kind of a snapshot here of what this account is all about. And if you're not following the account, you can just click here and follow. In case of this, it's obviously my own account, so I can't follow myself, but you would be able to do this for any other account, right? Now, you can see here, again, 4 different tabs. So you have the activity tab, which basically explains everything that I've been doing on Pinterest. So what are the different things that have been published from my website, all of the pins that have been going on, that's in the activity tab. You can check the community tab, which will tell you more about all of my followers. So who is following Indian Girling? You can just go one by one and even check out all of the followers and see what kind of follower categories I have. Now, again, this is great information if you are a business and you're looking to maybe grow your reach. Then you want to combine and you want to follow people who have your ideal clients and your ideal audience. So you can look around and see who's following this and kind of make your own assumptions or pull your own data or market research. You can also see all of the people that I'm following and how many people I'm following, in case that is something that interests you. Now, moving on to the more important, substantial part of Pinterest, which is boards. Now, boards are essentially basically a group of pins that are together, right? So for example, Germany Travel Tips is the board that I saved the pin on, which you saw earlier. And essentially, it is basically a personal board. So a personal board is a board that is only visible on my profile and that can only be accessed by me. It is, of course, also visible to other people, but they cannot really save any pins to this board because it is my board, okay? And the way it is different from a group board is that when you talk about a group board, you actually have a board where more than one person can save pins. So when you see this board, for example, you can see here that it has a lot of people who are actually, collaborators on this board, which means that lots of other people can actually save their pins and their images and their content on this board, and not only me. So of course, you do have to send an invite, and you can check out other videos on this channel on how you can do that. Make sure to hit the like button as well as subscribe if you're still here with me on this video. I would love to get this video out to more people, and each time you smash the like button, it really helps me pop out my videos to other people as well. So this is an example of a group board, which is essentially a board with 4,100 something followers. And here's where you can read the board description, which talks about, you know, all of the topics that people pin to this about. You can see all the subcategories of this group board. So you can see all of the different categories in which people share content. You can check out all of the latest images that have been pinned to this board. Now, as I said, this is different from a personal board where it is only me who gets to decide what goes in that board. So either I can upload my pins from my website, as you can see in this board, there are already quite a few of them, or I can save pins from other people's content, and I can save them to this board so that in future I might be able to use them. So for example, this is a pin that I saved to the Germany travel tips board, which is not my pin, but I found that this would be a pin that would be interesting for my audience and also for me to have in my board. Now again, the reason why you actually have boards on Pinterest is so that it's twofold. So if you are an individual user on Pinterest and you are doing this as sort of a kind of visual inspiration tool, you're using Pinterest just to make your vision board, maybe to, you know, put up images of your dream house, your wedding dress, etc. Then in that case, you will have boards which basically represent different categories. So you could have different boards like, you know, your wedding dress ideas or your summer vacation ideas or your home decor ideas, etc. Right? However, as a business owner, your boards really represent the categories of content that you create, you know, information in. So if you're a blogger, you would have boards of all of the top categories that you create content in. So for example, one of the categories that I create content in is travel. So you will see lots of travel boards on my account, right? So you can see Germany travel tips, you can see as I scroll down, you can see blog income reports. Again, something that I talk about is money. So that's something that you can see here as well. You can see make money travel blogging. You can see social media marketing. You can see travel guides. Again, all of these are personal boards, which are basically categories of content that I share my pins on, as well as save pins on. Now, what this does is that it essentially attracts my ideal audience. So my ideal audience is a woman who is a millennial. Most of the times it's a woman. There are also men who check out my website, but the majority of them is, let's say, women who are millennials, who are interested in travel, who are interested in personal development, and who are interested in making more money online, right? That's my ideal audience. So most of my personal boards will actually reflect that. And my group boards are an extension of that. So my group boards is where I collaborate my content with other creators so that my content gets discovered by other people and also gets shared by other people so that I get a bigger reach and get more eyeballs on my content, right? Now, again, you can categorize these boards in different ways. So if you're someone who has a lot of boards like me, you can categorize them alphabetically, which is A to Z, in which you can see all of the boards one by one, depending on A to Z. You can categorize them based on the newest boards. So the newest boards that you either created or joined will show up here, or you can categorize them by the oldest boards. You can also drag and drop and actually make a custom order for your boards. So if you want, let's say, to, move around your boards, you can actually pick them up and you can just drag them down and create them somewhere where you think they would fit better, right? So that way you can move that board. I wasn't able to do that successfully, but let me just show it to you how it's done. So here you go. So basically it's squeezed out to a different place, right? Now you can also group boards at the top. Like you can also select all of your group boards to show up at one place and all of your personal boards to show up at the other. Now, again, this is just a categorizing tool. It isn't really a marketing tip. It is just something that, is helpful for you to categorize your content and figure out where it falls in which place. And especially as a business user or as someone who's using Pinterest for marketing, you might find this helpful, right? Again, when we go on the pins tab, we can see all of the pins that I have shared, that I have saved from other people, everything that has ever been on my account, whether in my boards or whether in my pins or in my profile, is going to show up in this particular tab, right? Awesome. So now we know exactly what a profile looks like. We know exactly what these, statements here are. We know what a description is. We know what our community means. We know what boards mean. Now, next you're probably wondering, hey Shruti, how can I actually save pins, which are from my content to Pinterest? Now, again, this means that basically you want to post pins on Pinterest, right? So as you can see on the top, there are different things that you can navigate as well. So just for basics, here are two things. If you are a business account, which I am, you have a business hub where you have access to all of your insights. So you can see on just an overview of, what are your impressions, your saves, your link clicks, some of your top pins. You can see if you had any ads. You can have access to resources for business as well. The other thing that you can also see is your home feeds when you go there, right? So you can swap back from your profile to your home feed quickly so that you can navigate and save more content, right? Now, when it comes to creating a pin, you are actually going to go to create and then go on create a pin. We are not going to talk about a story pin or an ad because that's outside the scope of this video, but I'm going to share with you how to create a simple pin for your account and actually add that up, right? Now, what we're going to use to create a pin is a free tool called Canva, which is my favorite tool that I use all the time to actually create pins. And I'm going to go quickly back to this tool so that you can understand how this is used. Now, again, there are different types of templates that are already available on Canva. You can have a free account or you can pay for it, as I do. I tend to have a very high volume of graphics that go out for my business, which is why I prefer to have a premium account, because the extra features really add value to my life and they save me a lot of time, and also for my VA, which is a win-win. Now, as you can see, there are already templates here which are made. So you can click on Pinterest pin. And you can go through any one of those templates and see if there's a template design that you actually liked and would like to create for your particular account, right? So let's say that we actually want to create an image for this particular article, which is the ultimate Germany travel guide, right? So then I'm going to go here and just scroll down and see if there are any kind of travel pins which might actually go well with this topic, right? So again, all of these templates might or might not be accessible to you depending on what type of account you have. You can filter it based on language, you can filter it based on color, etc. Now, when I scroll down, I'm trying to look for an image which actually represents travel for me and would be a good way to actually create, you know, a post on Pinterest or a pin on Pinterest about this topic. So the ultimate Germany travel guide, right? Awesome. So let me look around for a travel pin. I believe there was one at the top that I missed out on. Let me just go back up. And when I go here, I see this pin, which is kind of, you know, it comes close to travel pin. So I'm going to go here and just make it Germany travel guide. Now, of course, it can be any text. That really depends on what you're pinning about. I'm going to delete this because I don't need it. And then I'm going to add the name of my website so that I actually have a kind of copyright, you know, influence over it, because a lot of people tend to steal your pins and use them off for their website. So make sure to always add your website logo so that anyone who's using that pin knows where that came from, right? Now I'm going to go to photos and quickly swap out the image at the back so that I have something which is actually interesting and goes with the title, right? So you want to make sure your pin is relevant. So if I'm talking about travel and I'm talking about Germany, I actually want to have a pin which is about Germany. I don't want to have a pin which is about France, right? Like, it wouldn't make no sense for me to have Germany travel guide and have Eiffel Tower at the back, right? Not only will it make you know, the users confused about what I'm talking about, it also wouldn't help me rank on Pinterest, because what Pinterest does when it actually ranks your content or your pins is that it scans the whole image and looks for relevancy factors, right? So when it sees, oh, she has a Germany travel guide, but she actually has Eiffel Tower on the back, Pinterest doesn't understand what my pin is all about, right? Now I'm going to show you a really cool hack on Canva, which is called a grid. Again, it is a feature which is also available to you for free. And the way that I use a grid is to basically form a background for my text. So as you can see, Germany travel guide is in white, and I want to just pop that out. So I just added a grid, and then I'm going to reshape the size of the grid just by holding the cursor down and adding it here. And then I'm going to, let's say, make it a different color so that it is more visible what this post is about, right? Okay, so now that I have this, I can actually move it a little bit to the center because I want this to be not completely on the left. Again, you can align it to the center, to the right, to the left, depending on this. You can also change your fonts and create a font or upload a font that is more relevant to you. So let's say that I want to have this as my font, and then I can make the size of the box shorter, bigger, depending on what I need. And again, I can double click on this image and move it around as well. I also have a Canva tutorial on this channel. Make sure to check that out if this is something that you need help with. I'm not going to go into too much details of this because I really want to show you the process of this and not really the design tips. So you can find that in a different video that I have about Canva. So it's quite simple. I'm just going to download this image. I'm going to download this, save it on my desktop, and then I'm going to proceed to Pinterest to actually upload and post it on Pinterest, right? So once I've saved this, let me just save it quickly to my desktop so that it's easy for me to find out. I'm going to circle back to Pinterest. So remember, we talked about creating a pin. Just click on create pin and you will get to the pin builder. So as you can see, this is the place where you actually create your pins, right? So what we're going to do is you can either upload, you can click here and go to your folder and upload that from your desktop. Or what you can do is you can also drag and drop the photo or the pin that you have just designed so that you have, you know, it's just quicker and easier for you. And again, what you need to do is basically just fill up the things that are on your right. So you can add your title. So you can say say it's the Germany travel guide for, let's say, first-time travelers. You can of course be more consistent and have more, in-depth strategy when it comes to this. You can check out my video on pin descriptions as well as pin titles to understand exactly how this works. And I'm going to just explain this shortly and say in this blog post, I share top travel tips for Germany and how to make the most of your time there. Again, the reason why you're doing this is to make, one, Pinterest understand exactly what your pin is about, and two, make the users who want to click on this pin also understand what your pin is about, right? You can also add a hashtag, let's say Germany, hashtag travel, etc. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add the URL of that particular pin. Now, again, this could be something different, something totally different for you. So let's say you have a product, you can add the product URL. Maybe you want to promote a certain, a second party website, you can also add that URL. It really doesn't matter. As long as it is a link which is not a spam, which is not considered spam by Pinterest, you can add a destination link, right? You can even promote your Instagram photos and videos on Pinterest by actually adding a pin and then adding the link to your Instagram profile. So that's a cool tip for you in case that is something that you want to grow using Pinterest. You can also do that, right? Not sure if this is double L or single L, but anyway. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm always confused between British and American English because I grew up in India where I studied British English, but then I watch a lot of stuff which is American English, and I'm totally messed up now and confused about exactly how to spell things. However, I hope that you understand how this works, and what you can do now here is to actually publish the pin. So you actually need to have a board to be able to publish this. So I recommend having at least one board, which is your brand board or your, let's say, business board. So the name of my business here or my travel board here is Indian Girling. So I'm going to save it to Indian Girling so that people who are basically, who are, let's say, familiar with my blog or are following this Pinterest account will be able to find that. Now, when I go back to my profile, I can actually scroll down and see that the pin was already saved there. So you can do that if you are a little bit paranoid and you want to double check, which I do sometimes as well, just to make sure that my pin was published, and search for my board and then see exactly where my pin showed up, just to make sure that it is there and it is saved in, correctly. So for some reason the search is not working super well. Okay, let's see if this works now. Okay, so I'm just gonna scroll down and see where my board is. I have a lot of boards, you all, so it takes a bit of time for me to actually look around. However, I do have the majority as group boards because I do tend to be quite active on group boards. I find them an excellent way to grow your tribe organically, and even though they're not as effective now as they used to be before, they're still decently effective. And of course, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything to join most of these group boards. So if you get free publicity and you get to grow your reach, it is 100%, 1000% worth it. So for some reason, let's click last save to, because that's where I saved the pin, so that's where it should show up. Yes. So this is my best of Indian Girling board, which basically has all of my branded pins and, from the beginning of time, from when I was in Pinterest. So you can see the pin that we just made has been saved here, right? Now, of course, you can see more stats eventually after 24 hours or more when Pinterest will show you the stats of this pin. So it's going to show you how many impressions your pin had, which is essentially how many people looked at your pins, how many people saved your pins, so how many repins did you get, and how many link clicks did you get. So how many people clicked out to your pin, right? So as you can see, this pin is already saved. I can also go here and save it to my Germany travel tips board because it's quite relevant to that as well. Now, when I go back, I want to show you quickly how the image or how the impressions and stats for other pins work. So let's scroll down and see something which has already been for 24 hours. So as you can see, this pin has 1,800 impressions. It has 4 saves and 42 link clicks. And this was last updated 6 hours ago. So it was a pin that was recently shared and has these many link clicks and pins. Now, what it does is essentially tells you exactly what's working for your account and what's not working for your account. So over time, as you create more pins and you post more pins, you will understand what's working for your account and what's completely bailing on your account. So my tip, of course, is always to create more content of what's working and less content of what's not working. Again, you have a very useful analytics feature as well on Pinterest. So you can go into your analytics and you can check an overview of your account. So of course, if you're just starting out on Pinterest, you will not have a lot of data. So you really won't be able to get much from it. But because I have been around on Pinterest for a while, I can have a lot of analytics data on my fingertips. So I have the number of impressions I had in the last month. I have the total audience. I have my engagements, how many people engage with my pins. Again, don't be intimidated by these numbers because I've been using Pinterest for a long time and I am a Pinterest marketing expert. So these numbers are, higher than average of what most accounts would be. You can also check your daily sort of growth. So as you can see how many people actually view your content. Now, again, when you think about 2 million impressions from a completely organic account without paying for ads, without, having any kind of sponsored pins, that is the kind of reach that Pinterest has. And to be honest, this is actually on the lower end. If you consistently work, you can actually even grow this impressions to 10 million, to 20 million and more. It really depends on your strategy as well as how well you are, really using and leveraging Pinterest as a platform. So if you're interested, you can also check out the Pinterest traffic masterclass that I have in the description box below, where I go into a lot more traffic building strategies for bloggers as well as business owners to drive traffic from Pinterest completely for free. So don't forget to sign up for that class if that's a topic that interests you. Okay. And also, guys, if you're still here with me, make sure to hit the like button and drop me a comment and let me know if this video is helpful, because that really helps me boost my video in the search algorithm and really also helps me do well on YouTube and grow this small channel. I would be really, really thankful. And of course, it's free for you to hit the like button. So I would love if you would do that. Again, a really, really cool feature of Pinterest is that you can actually see all of the categories and interests that your audience is interested in. Of course, this would not really be very beneficial for you if you just start an account today. However, if you've been there for a while, you have, let's say, 500, 1,000 odd followers, you will have a lot of information on what your audience is all about. You can see the age distribution of the audience as well. So you can see my audience is majority female, which is about 78% odd. You can also see what are the top countries that my audience is from. So you can see United States, India, UK, Canada, etc. Funnily enough, these are also the biggest audiences for my business. So as you can understand, a huge chunk of my business does come from Pinterest, and I am really thankful for that because it's like 99.9% organic. Sometimes I do run a sponsored pin every now and then if I'm doing a campaign, but that's extremely rare and I haven't really done it much this year. So you can also see specifically the cities and the states that my audience is from. So what are the areas? So New York, for example, is a big target group for me. Los Angeles is a big target group for me, etc. Again, this is something very interesting if you are a business owner and you really want to see who your audience is, how do you reach out to them, what are the topics that you can create content in. Now, again, these are the top categories that Pinterest usually has. So this is kind of broad, but of course you can go further down into quotes and actually see all of the subcategories that you get, which would show you what are the subcategories of quotes that are popular. So let's say that you are a personal development business, then you can actually go and see, okay, so my audience actually is interested in inspirational quotes, or they're interested in funny quotes, etc. Right? So again, guys, so much information that is available to you within the free business account that you have. Again, you can actually create a business account really, really simply. All you have to do is sign up for Pinterest, and as you can see, I'm going to quickly take you through how I did that. So again, you can just add your display name, your username, your profile, your email address. Maybe if you have something that, your address or anything else that you want to add, you can also add, change your account settings. So you can connect options like Facebook login, etc. You can add, your country, your region, etc. You can also claim your website. So as you can see, I have claimed my website, which is indiangirling.com. I've also claimed, my Instagram account so that Pinterest knows when I'm saving something from Instagram that it's actually my account and I get the correct credit for it. Right? So again, really cool. If you have an Etsy shop, you can also do that here, which is amazing for you because you can directly save things from your Etsy shop and put them on your Pinterest profile and sell them as well, right? Again, I have also claimed my YouTube. If you have Shopify, you can do that as well. No other social media platform gives you that advantage to actually claim other accounts and enable your audience to click out and use that. So I think that is really a big benefit of using Pinterest, you guys. So that's you all for this tutorial. Make sure to check out the other videos in my description box below so that you can learn more about how to use Pinterest to grow your audience, income, and impact online. So that's it for me for this video. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about using Pinterest. Make sure to hit the like button as well as subscribe to watch more such videos on how to grow your audience, income, and impact online. I'll see you in the next one.